Hey, what's up, everybody? Video 44 coming to another video. All right, so no deal done yet for D'Angelo Russell. Got some extra rumored information in regards to this deal that has just popped up in my timeline. Basically, my initial video in regards to this trade, I was barking up the right tree. The Lakers and the Jazz pretty much have agreed upon their deal, but the Lakers don't really want to take back Mike Conley. So they're trying to find somebody who'll take back Mike Conley. Enter D'Angelo Russell in Minnesota. Minnesota's not so sure about what they're getting back in regards to D'Angelo Russell. They also got some other stuff they got going on in regards to D'Lo. So they're trying to mull over our deal and the other stuff that they're looking at in regards to D'Lo. So that's what the holdup is. Everything else is in place. Jazz, Lakers, they ready to move. But they need to find somebody to take that Conley contract and get the Lakers back something they want. And it looked like D'Lo's probably the best thing. Now, I don't know if it's the only thing, but I don't think it's going to be too many things that make that deal work for everybody if Minnesota completely falls out of it. So this could go all the way to the very last second if for some reason the D'Lo thing drags out. Um, Minnesota, they can't really afford to make any more deals that mortgage good talent out. They need good stuff to come back. So they probably want 2 picks. But they're going to bust the whole trade if they mess it up. Asking for too much for D'Lo in regards to ourselves. So we can't, I don't know what the Lakers want to do in regards to this, how much they value the other pieces, if they would be willing to take back Conley, or would that be a deal breaker? Honestly, I don't know. I told you guys I felt it was acceptable if we were going to take back Conley to make this deal happen. If we're only going to give up one first round pick, it was like this acceptable trade. Now that D'Lo's been on the table, it does kind of shift me into thinking that's more what I would more rather do. I don't know that it necessarily changes how I felt about the trade in the first place. I just don't think Conley's anybody we should want for any reason whatsoever. What I would do is try to find other deals that might be plan B deals that can maybe get Conley somewhere else still. D'Angelo Russell's a hell of a piece, but he can't be the only thing that we'd be willing to take back to make this happen. Can't be. He's got to keep canvassing the league for something else, just in case they move D'Angelo Russell in a different move. Um, so, the one thing that I've been thinking about is if we pull the trigger on this deal, I have no problem with it. I'm happy if we can get D'Lo. All this is fine. Um, I think there are going to be some people who, that's where my head goes. I think it's going to be some other folks who say, why the heck did you do all this and end up pulling the trigger on this deal when we could have had this deal 3 months ago? Obviously, if D'Lo is barely, the decision to move D'Lo barely comes down to right now, then no, you couldn't get this deal 6 months ago. But I think there are going to be a lot of people will have wanted the Lakers to do something else. Kyrie, obviously. There's going to be a lot of people who say, what the heck, we doing all this and we're going to bring back D'Angelo? Why don't we just go for what we wanted to with Kyrie? There's going to be some people who said, hey, we should have got the Miles Turner and Buddy Hield deal going. That was much better than what this is. So I understand that Rob Pelinka is going to be, he's going to take a hit for this deal. Even though I'm fine with it, he's going to take a hit for it. Because at the end of the day, what they're going to say is, this isn't better than some of the other rumored deals that were on the table leading up. That's what they're going to say. Vanderbilt, for me, makes it cool. D'Angelo Russell was a player I wanted to keep at one point, but saw the fruit and moving on. I was seeing things a little differently at the time, so I was kind of on board with the way the Lakers were thinking. But I definitely am happy to have him back. And Beasley's a player we could really use, man. A shooter. A real shooter. Not overly priced. Not going to be on tab for a million years. Healthy player, healthy contract, that kind of thing. Shooter. You don't ask him to come in and be Kobe, but you definitely expect him to be able to hit about 3 threes a night. And he's a killer too. He has some real killer instincts in him. So what I like about this trade is the continuity process of it. We understood that we were bringing Hachimura to a situation where he had players he had played with in Brown, Russell, and of course, Thomas Bryant. I think in this situation, you're looking at where players have played together as well. These guys were Wolves last year, along with Patrick Beverley. So this is all really interesting. If we keep Patrick Beverley, we're bringing in D'Lo, we're bringing in Vanderbilt, we're bringing in Beasley. Those are all Wolves in a playoff team last year. So the continuity aspect of it, knowing that we have a short window to gel, I think is the right way to think. It's the right way to think. So I think the Lakers are valuing things the way I would value them. I think they're looking at it the way I look at it. So I'm pleased with that for the most part. I just understand that we would be settling for a deal that would not be up to standard for a lot of fans. But it's better than nothing, and I think it makes us better enough to do it. If we can get it done the way we want to do it. Meaning not taking back Conley at all. I told you I felt I would be happy if they brought me something I would be happy about, a player I liked instead of Conley. I would be really happy with the trade. So that's exactly what this would be. D'Angelo Russell doesn't make me overly ecstatic, like say Fred VanVleet would in this situation, or Gary Trent would, or Anunoby would. But D'Angelo Russell isn't too far off, not too far off from that level. So that's okay. That's okay, man. If we pull this deal off, depending on the pick equity value, swaps, however, if we go crazy and give them unprotected 2 first rounders, I'm not going to like that at all. But if we can make the picks make sense, give ourselves some protection, maybe keep one of them, something like that. If we can make it dumb to pick down to where it's not overly souped up, I'm cool, depending on how the framework looks, obviously. So I think this is something LeBron can work with as I'm trying to envision the team. It's something he can work with. D'Angelo Russell. It's the shooting that I really like that we're bringing in Russell and Beasley. That's really, really intriguing. Having those type of shooters come in immediately, you go from one of the worst shooters in the league to having adequate spacing. Shouldn't be no problem because the shooters that we have on our team right now are able to hit shots. Here, Troy Browns, depending who's staying, we got guys who can hit shots. Bron, AD, they can hit the 3. Austin, Max, I'm assuming those guys would be staying after the deadline. They can hit the 3, but you don't have any shooters. You bring these guys in, you got shooters, like the real deal. Guys pay them to shoot 3-point shots, especially Beasley. That's all he's in the league to really do. So you're bringing in an actual shooter. Of course, we had one like Matt Ryan earlier, but he wasn't developed. This is a real developed shooter that specializes in knocking down the tray ball and can get you a 30-point game on a good night. Kind of had some character issues in the past. That's the only thing about Malik Beasley. He's had some issues. I don't know what they are. Didn't do a lot of homework. I just remember some stuff. So that's as far as it goes. But you're bringing in Beasley, you're bringing in D'Lo. That right there, it's not exactly the most seamless thing to bring into the locker room as far as personalities. But again, they played with one another last year, along with Patrick. So it's cool. And you're getting Russell up out of here. So that should improve things just overall for the chemistry. So, and then Vanderbilt is a player. I'm extremely excited about Vanderbilt. I know he's not a scorer. He's not going to shoot the ball, but he's a wildly fantastic rebounder, wildly fantastic defensive player. Very, very capable of helping us offensively, dunking the ball, stuff like that. He's not deficient shooting the ball, so I believe he can. He's another guy who can make a shot, like a Wenyen Gabriel type thing. You don't want him to shoot too much. If he's out there, maybe he'll hit it. That kind of thing. Upgrade from Wenyen. He's like a better version of Win. Honestly, he's one of those. A lot, it's better. But I'm looking to more so to learn about him. I don't assume that I know as much as about him as I'd like to. One thing I do find myself impressed with, though, is in all the things that he does, he'll get assists. You look up at a Vanderbilt stat line, it's like 5 points, 2 steals, 3 blocks, 14 rebounds, and like 4 assists, 5 assists. It's like, okay, he can do some playmaking here. It's not crazy, but coupled with your assist makers on the floor, you have another guy that's going to contribute in that area. Give me a good 4 of them, give me a good 5 of them. That's pretty damn good for a guy that I'm not even looking to really do as much on that side but rebound and dunk. So I'm super excited about the upside of this dude. Like I said, he has wildly fantastic talent as it pertains to the defensive side of the ball. He's gonna be crazy great. It's just about getting him into the development process and finally having him settle into a franchise. I wonder why Utah doesn't want him. I don't wonder why Minnesota didn't want him. They did want him. They just had to give him up in order to make this bad trade that they were hell bent on making. And he was a big part of what they were doing right, which is why I don't have any questions about bringing him to my team. I saw enough eyesight time of him in the playoffs to know that's a player I need on my squad. Him and McDaniels both should have never been split up. But nevertheless, it's like if we get that player, even if everything else doesn't work out, you just keep him at a good price for 4 or 5 years, and you got a happy Laker fan here, because that's the type of player I know can help me win. You give me him, you give me Wenyen Gabriel, you give me Troy Brown, you give me Max Christie, you give me Austin Reeves, give me Rui Hachimura. I got a future of role players that I like right there. And I didn't even mention all of them. There's more. But that right there, if I have Vanderbilt in that little core right there, and I got Bron and AD, next season I feel real good about this team, man. Especially with more money on the books to sign us a point guard or something, to revamp our point guard position. Maybe we get a Kyrie Irving. Maybe we re-sign D'Angelo Russell if that's what we're doing, or if he's on for another tab for another year. The team looks good with the role players and the meat and potatoes of your squad, which is ultimately what makes you a really good team. Then you just got to make sure they got the right coach in place, working on the right system for the players, keeping them on contracts that make sense. But from where I'm sitting, I do like some of those players, man. I like all that. I like all of that. And I look at some of the guys coming off the bench. I still want to keep some of them dudes. Scottie Pippen. I want to see what Cole Swider can do. Like, these are players I can use. So, yeah, that's ultimately what you want to find. And then what gets really tricky is once you start bringing in upgrades to your team, how do those players fluctuate into players that you don't need as much anymore? Like I said, we're bringing in Vanderbilt. We're doubling down on Wenyen Gabriel getting less and less minutes. And while we don't value him like we should respect that he's done enough good in our uniform to where someone else values him, which is why I think we should be trading some of these guys, man. I just know that Wenyen Gabriel can help a team win. So it's like, if they have good scouts and they've been paying attention to his minutes on our team, he would be somebody they would offer a second round pick for. But see, that's one of those situations where, you know, it's almost like I don't know who else is watching for that player, who needs that player, what, you know, who's looking for that player. But if they were, they would know that he's somebody who can help them right now. So it's I don't know. I think it's one of those situations where, like, real fans who pay attention to every player know exactly how well certain players are on the back of their bench, as opposed to just average scouts who just canvass the league. They have an understanding about certain players because they're looking at so many players at once. So it's like, Wenyen Gabriel, yeah, he's a nice little guy, slide on the back of the bench. I heard how Darvin Ham had worded it. It was like, you know, he's a nice situational role player. And I was like, yes, that's what would probably be labeled next to his name prior to us signing him last season. For us, he's been more of a role player than just someone situational, had we been using him properly. So it wasn't necessarily me agreeing with Darvin Ham when he was saying that. I didn't. I agreed with it before we started developing him. Now he's somebody that I think can actually be more of a helpful rotational piece that you keep in heavy rotation for reasons of specific need. Rebounding the ball, scoring the ball, half-court situations, players that are not necessarily superstars, but players that you can keep on him that are a little higher level than him. Like, I wouldn't mind putting him on certain guys of the tier of John Collins and such and such, because he can sometimes get successful possessions out of those players in theory. And I'm not singling out John Collins. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying of that tier. You know, I ain't putting him on Giannis, but I'll put him on John. You know what I'm saying? And I think I'll be good. So it's like he hasn't been utilized properly. Now, he does make certain mistakes that limit him in his upside. You're not going to say he's more than a role player, but to say he's situational pushes him back down to like the 10th man, the 11th man, the 12th man. when depending on the roster, he should probably be your 8th man, 7th man, 6th man. And that's kind of how I'm looking at it. You know what I mean? He should be a little further up your bench based on what it is that we got. And I think they worded it that way in regards to him so they could justify the mismanagement of playing him this way. That's what I think. So that's why I'm always saying these things, man. It's like, yo, I feel like somebody needs to have a different perspective on this stuff that isn't trying to get in there, man. Like, isn't trying to get close to the team, isn't trying to get a job or a buck, so they can give an unbiased opinion that isn't attached to the politics. Because I don't think anybody within Laker Nation is going to be able to verbalize what I said, because I don't necessarily think it benefits the franchise to value their players a certain way based on what it is that they want to do financially. But for me, I don't give a damn about that. I really genuinely want to win, and I think that when you misevaluate players for reasons other than winning, it hurts you on the floor. So when you say Winyon's a situational rotation piece, and you play him as our 10th man, and you pushing up players that can't do half of what it is that he does, or hurts you more so than he would, and you'll call a guy like Patrick Beverley a starter. No, Patrick Beverley is a situational role player. Because when I need him for certain situations, I will call on his role. That is actually who he should be. You see what I'm saying? It's like how you word it that way, but it's like, nah, because when you word Winyon this way, you're misevaluating someone else on your roster as well. And that's exactly what's going on. You're seeing that all up and down the roster. So I'm just like, man, and it's just not, that's not up to par, man. That's not up to Lakers standard. It's just not. We don't do that. So this is why I talk the way I talk. They can make a nice trade here, and I'll be very happy, but we will still have these issues. And we're going to need our coach to understand how to snap out of that. Upgrade the analysis of the player that has done more for you than that name would provide. Because that ain't the label for a guy like that, man. That is not the label for the dude that leads the league in rebounding percentage. Is that how that dude said it? It was an offensive rebounding, contested offensive rebounding percentage, I think was how that stat went. I don't know. It's a very difficult, specific stat. But if a Wenyen Gabriel leads the entire league in it, you ain't no situational role player for a sub 500 basketball club that has small ball issues. That's not who you are for that roster. So that's something that's been on my mind for about a week, because he ain't said that recently. I heard that like 2 weeks ago, and I was like, I get it, but that's the same exact thing that Mark Cuban did in regards to saying Kyrie Irving is the second best ball handler on the team. I'm like I know that benefits you to lie and say that, but that's not what I'm gonna roll with when I talk to the people I'm talking to, because that ain't true. It ain't true at all. So that's the same thing, the same exact thing. And they do it a lot in regards to certain players, for reasons that may make sense. So that's just what it is, man. So yeah, hopefully the Lakers are finalizing this deal. Hopefully Timberwolves will not necessarily be pleased with other D'Angelo Russell deals, so they can benefit our squad here. That's what I care about, man. Getting D'Lo off the squad. I think he's an expiring contract, yo. And if D'Lo's expiring and happens to walk, depending on what we're giving up, it could be a problem. Depending on what we're taking back as well. Vanderbilt, again, is the prize to me. So I'd like to keep D'Lo, but if he's coming off the books just the same, it's almost like Westbrook coming off the books and you kept him. It doesn't matter. You don't care. But if he's on for an extra year, I think we'll welcome that. I think we will. Or if he's on for another 2 years, depending on the amount of money. And I don't remember it being something crazy, because if it were, it would stand out in my head. If we were going after Kyle Lowry or something like that, believe you me, I'd tell us not to. That's why I know Conley ain't nothing to want. But D'Lo, I don't remember his contract standing out in a way that made me offended or whatever. So, yeah, we'll figure it out, man. We will keep monitoring the situation. And as the team continues to roll out trade rumors, if anything gets attached to that, we'll knock it out in regards to another video. But my gut tells me there's nothing keeping it from happening except for Minnesota. I mean, it's just up to them. You know, there's no gut to be reaching into it right now. It's just basically us waiting on the fact of what we know. Minnesota Timberwolves got to come up with the best decision for themselves, and uh, hopefully they'll land on it being what we have here agreed upon. So that's what I have to say, man. Hopefully we'll get this done. I don't want to wait to the last minute, as I keep telling people. I think it could be an interesting cramming of people trying to make different multiple deals at the same time, and I think the chances for error and the chances for things to not get complete could be possible every year. But in a year like this with a locked up market and hardly no trades being made all season long, the environment for this to be a very hectic trade deadline is there. It's there. I know people don't expect a million trades, but there are a lot of backed up trades that never got done, decisions that should have probably been made, teams that just have shifted in regards to what they think of themselves and what they're going to be doing. Wembanyama still looming. Certain teams could still tank it up and let the bottom fall out. So it's a lot of stuff that can change right now if teams want to make trades, and I think they may. I think trades may actually be made, you guys. So keep our eyes open, and of course, BDF44. I thank you all for watching. Wow.